about America's Got Talent? What was like the difference now in 2024 than it was when you actually won in 2017? Like, what's changed since then for you?
Oh my gosh, my whole life. So I went on when I was 12 back in 2017 on season 12. Um, and winning just definitely changed my life, whole 360, in a really good way. Um, but yeah, I went from just being this girl from Oklahoma City that no one knew, doing this out of the box talent to just kind of a worldwide um known kind of thing. It was wild overnight. It was wild. But
I mean, can you give me like, just like a breakdown of the process? I mean, that got you to America's Got Talent?
yeah, well, so I let's see, I was around 9 when I found out about ventriloquism. And I was doing gymnastics at the time. Gymnastics was my passion. Um I was yeah, that was what I was gonna do for the rest of my life. And singing was just like a hobby, what I did on the side at home. And then I found out about ventriloquism, and that kind of just opened my eyes to this whole new world of like, okay, wait, this is so cool. I've got to learn how to do this. I started teaching myself how to do it and, in my bathroom mirror, and finally asked for a puppet. My parents said no, which was funny. I think they thought it was going to be a passing fad. Um, but then I was very persistent. They got me one for my birthday, on my 10th birthday. And then it kind of went from there. And 2 years later, I was like, I want to go on AGT. My parents were like, Are you sure? They can be really mean on there. But I don't know, something inside of me was just like, I want to do this. I feel like I could have a shot. For some reason. So I sent in a video audition and they liked it. And then I got to be on the audition show. And the rest is history.
Well, where was the first time you saw a ventriloquist act and you said, whoa?
So I grew up really, really reserved and shy, painfully shy, and so my mom and my dad were honestly a little worried. And so my mom put me in this music school, and then she also put me in these little pageants growing up, in this little beauty pageant program. It was really, really good program for me to just kind of come out of my shell and meet other girls and make friends and kind of, learn how to present myself and talk to people. Um, and so there was a talent portion for all these pageants. And so I met a girl who did ventriloquism for talent. Um, and like I said, I was around 9. And so I was just like mesmerized. I was like, what is this? How is she doing that? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so I gotta learn more about this. I memorized all her routines, and yeah, I don't know, it was just something I clicked in my brain, and I was like, this is incredible. I've got to learn how to do this.
And you look back at the old video in 2017 and say, oh my God, I was young back then.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I turned 20 next month, which is so weird, and it was 7 years ago, but it's kind of feels like it was still yesterday, but at the same time it's like that was forever ago. So it's crazy.
What was the coolest part about it? I mean, you had America's Got Talent, and what was the other one? I forgot the name of the other show with Steve Harvey. It was
Little Big Shots.
Little Big Shots, yeah. I mean, you
Yes.
had, I mean, a 12-year-old, you had Simon Cowell already critiquing you, you had Steve Harvey already talking. Like, how fun was that? How nerve-wracking was that for a 12-year-old girl? For anybody?
Oh my gosh. No, I definitely about threw up every time I went on the stage for AGT. It was definitely just terrifying because, like before I went on, the max amount of people that I had ever performed for was like 600 people. And so, that was scary at the time. And then, walking onto the stage, my first audition, it's like there's 3,000 people in the audience. And then, of course, the live shows where there's obviously the people in the audience watching, but it's live. So there's 14 million people watching at home. Um, yeah, I don't know how I did it. I look back on it now and I'm like, I don't know how I did that. So it was it was nerve-wracking, but I feel like I'm a really faithful person. I feel like everything was super divinely influenced. And so I think I was meant to be there. And I think there was a sense of like, no, I think I'm on the right path. This feels right. So that was kind of helpful, I guess.
And was there
But
a difference in nerves for you back then between going on stage in front of millions of people and a gymnastics competition?
oh my gosh. I feel like they're different in their ways, but I also feel like they're very similar too in a sense of, you know, you just really want to almost be perfect and you kind of just get one chance to do that. So it's like it's definitely a high stakes thing, but yeah, that's an interesting question.
So it's yes, but no.
Yes, but no, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll stick with ventriloquism for a little bit. How many hours did you have to actually have to practice to get America's Got Talent good or Little Big Shots good at this?
A lot. I remember pretty much almost every day of the week. I had a ventriloquist coach. His name's Gary Owen. I still work with him to this day. He's like a second grandpa to me, but he lived in Oklahoma, and he had done ventriloquism for like 35, 40 plus years. And so he was like kind of a veteran. And so he found out about me and we started working together for I went on the show. And so I'd work with him like every day before I had to go out there and do the actual performance. And there's a lot to ventriloquism that I think people forget just because they get lost in the illusion. But there's just a lot going on at one time where I'm having to obviously focus on my like lip control and not move and enunciation and manipulating the puppet, like animating the puppet, and then making sure I'm reacting to what the puppet is saying and making sure the puppet is moving and reacting while I'm talking. And it's kind of just becomes like a second nature kind of thing, but it takes definitely a lot of dedication, because it's an art form for sure. But yeah, I worked really, really hard, um, especially as a 12-year-old.
Besides not moving your lips and making it look authentic as possible, do you have any type of breathing type of techniques? So you're not going blue in the face while you're holding your lips together? Is there anything that you had to work on at that point?
Well, not necessarily. Just because I continue to breathe. Don't worry, guys. I don't hold my breath. But I mean, I think it's more of a just making sure I'm pretty relaxed. It's a lot of control as opposed to just like tensing up. Um, Otherwise, it'd be really hard to sing because to sing you've got to be super relaxed, kind of. So.
Now, as a 12-year-old, you probably didn't think of it that much back then, but do you do anything like now? Like as far as meditation, as far as anything, just relaxing a little bit?
Um, Honestly, I think I thought about it more when I was 12 than I do now, if I'm being honest. Um, which I probably gotta like shake that up. And work as hard as I did then, especially like, because that was just such a high stakes thing, and I was like so determined. And now I'm like, I didn't die. But yeah, it's a lot, but I feel like I've done it so long now I can, just kind of just do it, but that's not the mindset to have. I'm like, I gotta work at it all the time.
Now, besides Katie and Petunia, like who else is in the family as far as?
Yeah, so Kitty, Petunia, Edna, and Oscar. And then there was Ivan, who was kind of a new one. But yeah, good old bunch.
Now, with that as well, I mean, when you talk to Simon, when he asked you why you do it, I think your quote was, "I like it because ventriloquism is not common, and I want to keep it going." Is there like anything else about you that's kind of uncommon? People think, or you would even think, like, yeah, other people don't like this as much.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like for the longest time, I've had a hard time relating to my friends when it comes to music, just because I've been such an old soul when it comes to music. That's one thing where I'm like, I feel like, yeah, especially, I just my one of my favorite albums of all time is At Last by Etta James. She's like one of my heroes. I love
Well,
her.
other than that, when it came to all the practice, all the training for ventriloquism, how did singing come into play? Did you have to also put in equal amount of hours singing lessons and working that as well?
So singing actually came first. My mom sang, and so did my grandparents. So my grandparents were in a band when my mom and her sisters were little. So I kind of just grew up taking after my mom because she sang all the time. I heard her sing in church every Sunday. She'd sing me and my brothers to sleep. Like it was just a very core thing of my childhood. And so I think I just took after her.
Mm.
And I sang all the time. But like I said, I was super shy, so it would only be at home. Like it would take a lot. It would take a lot of bribing from my mom for me to sing outside the house, because I was so. Uh, but that was honestly my first, um, you know, kind of side passion when I was doing gymnastics, and so it came first. And so then when I found out about ventriloquism, I was like, what if I just put the two together? um, so I already kind of was training in the singing world, and then kind of just incorporated it into the ventriloquism world.
So what was the first song you did play, you and Petunia, or you and Katie?
Um, with Katie, it was this song called Cowboy Sweetheart. It's a really old country song, country yodeling song. And then with Petunia, of course, it was Summertime, which was that first audition song.
And I just saw one of your latest posts doing Hotel California. Is every song you
Yeah.
perform from 80s, 90s, or old school, or?
Not every song, but a majority of the songs I like to sing are definitely old like that. I'm a huge Eagles fan. And Hotel California is just it's a classic, so I love singing that with my friend Brooke. So
Well, did you see yourself going from winning that in 17 to today, now being in movies, now going movie premieres, Reagan, and
no,
now?
I mean, I honestly never ever could have imagined where that would have taken me, especially, like when I was 12, a lot of things just went like straight over my head. I was just like kind of very in the present moment at that time. And um I definitely didn't understand how much winning would change my life. Um, but now I'm like almost 20. It's wild to think about. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So,
What's had to change the most, or what have you had to adapt to the most?
um, honestly, I would say maybe the getting recognized in public because it does happen, and I don't know if I'll ever get used to it just because I'm so I don't know, it's like sometimes just so socially anxious. So I think, but I also love talking to people. So it's like this weird balance of like, oh my gosh, to wait, this is so cool. So I don't know. I think that's something that I don't know if I'll get used to.
So Darci Lynne is no longer shy. You're now.
I feel like I still hold some of the shy parts of myself, but definitely not as much as when I was little. That's for sure.
Now, are you launching a solo career now, or are you not? Are you not full force with that?
Yeah, I am. I started writing music in quarantine, and so it's become a huge passion of mine. I fell in love with it, so that's definitely a pathway I want to take for sure. I love to put out an EP or an album and continue to do that down the road. That's definitely a dream of mine. Um, but yeah, I definitely not leaving the puppets behind, but just kind of introducing this new pathway, opening another door.
Well, were you taking it back then when Simon and Mel be kind of like I don't want to say they didn't trash it, but you're perform, but they kind of like we like Petunia as well. Caught off guard just a little bit with that, or?
Yeah, that was definitely crazy for sure. Honestly, in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that there was definitely not going to be a whole lot of yes, let's do this from them, just because you know they know me as the 12-year-old, and I think kind of froze me in that era. And so, it's definitely a weird spot to, come out and be like, hey, but I also do this. And so, it was interesting. I think a part of me definitely hoped that they would be super supportive just because they watched me grow up. Um, so it was, yeah, it was a little bit of a shock, but I'm definitely not deterred. I'm too determined to, to listen to Simon when he when he tells me that I should just be a ventriloquist. So, but of course, though, still I have so much respect for him because I would not be here if it wasn't for him. But it was kind of like a love hate. Like, I know you don't want me to go off on this, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Now, with all this musical stardom now, are you any chance of you ever going back to gymnastics? And
Oh my gosh, no, definitely not. Um, yeah, gymnastics is such a interesting sport where like when you quit, it is for a certain amount of time, it is insanely hard to get back into it. Because that's a sport that if you want to do it, for the rest of your life, you got to commit to it like at a young age. So there's no way I could get back into that. Um, even if I wanted to, I still have such a deep love for it. Because it's such a different part of my life. But um, but no, probably not.
I was gonna ask you if that's a sport that you can just pick up where you left off, and apparently
Definitely.
not one of those types. So is
Mhm.
it true that you actually work like 3 hours or train 30 hours a week for
Oh yeah,
gymnastics?
it was very intense. I think I learned a lot of discipline for sure. But yeah, I did it from around age 5 to 11, so 6 years. But I like I said, I was super passionate about it, so I was training to go elite for sure. Like that's what I wanted to do. I quit when I was training level 9, and so at one of the best gyms, if not the best gym in Oklahoma. But yeah, yeah, it was crazy. The 33 hours a week is almost like a full-time job, so it's wild.
What do you do for 30 hours? What? And you were how old? 6 years old, 7 years old?
Yeah. Well, at the time I was doing 33 hours a week, I was 11. So I 10, 11. Which is still so intense, but like we work out and exercise at the gym for like an hour before we actually ever get into the actual skills and events and, you know, running routines and stuff. So it's crazy.
Like, what was a day in the life of a gymnastics practice like?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. When I did like two-a-days, these things called two-a-days in the summer, where I get up, be there at 9, and you go from 9 to 1, and then you get like a lunch break, but you bring your lunch. You'd stay at the gym and you'd eat lunch, and then you'd go from like 3:30 to 5. And those were called two-a-days, and you do that like every day except Sunday, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, it
So
was.
what was like your special? What was your main event?
I would say floor. I loved floor and beam, like the balance beam. I was horrendous at vault and bars. Those were not my specialty, but um, beam and floor. I won floor. Back when one of the very last meets I did was regionals, which is a pretty big meet. And I ended up winning floor, so that was cool. But
Oh, what age was that?
that was when I was 11, right before I quit. Yeah.
So when did that how did that go about? How did you say, well, now I've had another gymnastics, now it's time to move on?
So, yeah, I mean, when I was doing gymnastics, I, of course, was doing all like these pageants and singing and all this kind of like entertainment, performing world stuff on the side. And it was something I loved doing. Like, I felt like I belonged in this world, but I was still doing gymnastics. I still loved it, but I think I had just developed a deeper love for the entertainment world. And so, when it came to my coaches and I was like, so I want to quit. I want to perform, like this is what I want to do. And they actually tried to talk me out of it because they thought I was crazy. which is so funny. And but anyway, yeah, I just had such a determined, mindset to just kind of go for the performing world, and I think I was right in that decision.
Well, did you have any crazy spills off the vault or off the beams or?
Oh my gosh, yeah. One time, let's see, at this beam or at this gym, we had this balance beam that was super rough textured, and we all called it the scratchy beam, and no one wanted to use it. All of us girls, never, no one wanted to use it. And one time I was using it, and I did this um thing called like a back handspring layout. So it's like where you do a back handspring where you touch the beam with your hands, and then the next one it's no hands. And then I missed my foot on the second one and like smacked down on the beam on my thigh and then slid down too. So I had a massive like scratch scab all the way up my leg and then like a bruise this big on my leg. So that was not fun.
Especially pageant time. Now, was that like,
Yeah.
was that like a badge of honor for you, gymnastics wise, or?
Oh, I don't know. A badge of honor? Definitely a badge of pain, that's for sure.
Would you take any gymnastics routines or anything philosophy into your workouts now, into any exercise these days?
Um, I think definitely the philosophy of discipline and hard work beats talent every day. I feel like so definitely
So what do you do now to replace gymnastics?
that. Well, I feel like the entertainment world is just as grueling as gymnastics, but in a different way. So yes, but no. But you know, I would say not as like physically draining, but maybe mentally, emotionally draining. So it just takes like it takes a lot of just patience and also discipline. But I would say like maybe what replaces the really hard work is maybe touring, like traveling on the road. It can get pretty tough, but I feel like the fun outweighs the tough. So yeah.
Do you even hit the gym these days, or?
Oh, are we talking about exercising?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, the gym. So me and my mom go all the time. We like to go together. But yeah, I like to interval run on a treadmill, which is always good. Trying to get into more lifting, but I don't know much about it, so I gotta ask my older brother. He's 27 and he is a gym rat. So I'll probably been asking him questions. But I'm about to start training for a half marathon with my dad, which I've never done before. So that's going to be insane and hard. So,
So what's the farthest you've run so far? Like, what's your mileage like?
oh my gosh, super low if we're being honest. Me and my dad, me and my dad used to wake up and run like 3 miles every morning in quarantine. Um, and so that was wild. But I would say I've run a 5K, so I don't know. I would say 3 or 4 miles. So I've got until April. So we're gonna work our way up.
Oh, you got plenty of time then. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so you haven't mapped out yet, or is it just still in the works then?
Oh, my dad has run marathons forever. It's his thing. We always go watch him every year. In the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon that we have in April. And so that's his thing. But I think he's always dreamed of one of his kids to run one with him. So um that's gonna be me. So he already knows he's got a training regimen he's used forever. So I'm just gonna follow whatever he does.
I mean, did you volunteer or were you kind of like,
Oh yeah, I volunteered. Uh, I think it's gonna be good for me. I hate getting up in the morning, so this is gonna be a test of discipline, that's for sure. So, and he runs like at the crack of dawn. So
what time do you get up?
I would say this is early for me, but you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. I would say like 7:45, 8,
Uh,
8-ish.
I mean, do you have a regular routine now? Do you have some type of daily regimen, daily routine now that I said things are really flying wild for you?
Yes, I've been traveling a lot this summer, so I've kind of gotten out of I was gone for a whole month this summer, so it's been kind of crazy, but the usual the usual regimen is I get up and go to the gym with my mom, or we go on a walk. And sometimes if on a good day I'll also in the evening go on a bike ride around Lake Hefner here. It's like 8 miles with my best friend. And then honestly, after that, I'll get to work, whether it's like writing, I got a writing session, or I'll make some content. And I've got sometimes, a lot of times, I've got interviews like this, um, or just meetings in general. But yeah, it's not like a crazy hardcore um, regimen, but it keeps me healthy and happy.
What's more time consuming for you? Is it songwriting or is it content creation?
Mm, I would say songwriting. Um, you know, but I'm not the biggest fan of content creation just because like it's social media for me. It's like I love singing in front of a crowd and like being intimate with an audience and being connected in that way. And so like singing for a screen is like but it's very important and essential to the job. So gotta do that. But songwriting is definitely like it takes up more time, but I don't mind at all.
Now, how much sleep do you get?
I mean, on a good day, like 8 hours, which is I think is pretty
Cool.
good.
You say you like performing in front of audiences. Do you have a tour coming up, or is there?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get back out on the road in January. So we're in the process of writing a new show because I've traveled and performed this specific show for about 2 years now, and it's just kind of time to write some new material and sing some new songs. So we're in the process of doing that, and hopefully I'll get back out there in
So,
January.
so far, what's the coolest place you've been to as far as performing?
Oh my goodness. I would say Alaska. Alaska was
Oh,
incredible. I played the Alaska State Fair, and the show was outside, of course, and so we were in a place where the mountains were just in the background. Like I could just see the mountains while I was performing, and that was incredible. I'm a mountain girl. I love the mountains, so it was so cool.
I said, besides, I said professional, do you have anything outside the norm that you do? Besides working out, besides work, is there something that an activity you do that, hey, well, we didn't know Darci Lynne does this.
Oh my
But
gosh. Um, this is so super niche and weird, and my family makes fun of me for it. But I've started collecting typewriters, which is so nerdy, but I love antique shopping. It's like one of my favorite things to do
question I do
ever.
have,
So
I didn't even ask you about, I mean, just what you eat. Do you have to like watch what you eat at this point, or is it, can you get away with anything?
no, I definitely used to be able to get away with everything, but I'm I feel like my eating was better a while ago because I moved out of my house, and so like I have no idea how to cook. So it's been a very exploring kind of exploration season for me. But I'm my next goal is to learn how to make tuna, which my dad said it's so easy, but knowing me, I'm gonna mess it up. So I'm working on, learning how to cook the lean meats, so that's very important. um and let's see, one of my favorite vegetables ever is green beans. So that's a staple for me. Um, what else? I love avocado. It's like a healthy fat, right? Maybe.
They say so.
So my mom makes this incredible steamed broccoli, so that's also a favorite of mine. But and then sometimes I splurge and eat like a Reese's chocolate bar, so that's not good. But
I guess. Does it take anything out of you as far as traveling from LA, Oklahoma City to probably New York and just performing? Do you have to do anything else like just to recover? Or do you need
Um, what's fun about when I travel sometimes is we'll take an extra day to stay wherever we are and get to do like just to explore it, which I think is a restful thing. Um, I mean, I'm pretty still pretty young, so I've got a lot of energy in me. My parents, on the other hand, they could tell you different. But I think like, having some time to just explore where I'm at is very restful because sometimes it could get really, mundane if it's, airport, hotel, venue, hotel, airport, and then that's it. So like, you know, just to keep the spirits up, and I think that's a restful time for me.
so what last question, what is next up now for Darci Lynne? Where will we be seeing you next month, next week?
Yeah,
And
so well, I'm putting out a
23rd.
single. That's exciting. But I'm gonna continue to write music and put songs out. That's the goal for sure. And then of course, hopping back out on the road. But I've got some things in the works that are kind of still under wraps, and so you just have to stay tuned. But one thing I can tell you is definitely music and touring. So that's what's next.
does it involve Petunia?
Yeah, yeah.